Well, it's that time of year again where you're going to start seeing trucks like this, both in the city and out on the highways, treating roads before a storm. And we thought we'd take a second to give you an idea of what salt brine is, why we use it, and give you a better overview of why we're out in the streets when maybe it isn't even snowing. This is our anti-icing salt brine truck. It has a 1,000-gallon tank, and we utilize this before a storm to be proactive in applying the material to the roadways to prevent the bond from pavement. Ultimately, salt brine is 76.7% water and 23.3% salt. So we're using much less salt in that treatment of the road than we would be if we applied 100% rock salt. So we apply the salt brine to the pavement pre-storm with the attempt to prevent the bond to pavement. When it snows, whether it's a snow event or a freezing rain event, that moisture can absorb to the pavement and actually lock tight and freeze onto the pavement if we don't have some type of mechanism to prevent the bond. With salt brine, it allows it to reduce the freezing point of water. As we know, water freezes at 32 degrees. With salt brine and any type of calcium chloride, sodium chloride, it lowers that freezing point of water and prevents the bond to the pavement, ultimately making it much safer for us as drivers. As we pull up to a stoplight on a treated road, oftentimes you won't feel any of the anti-lock brakes on your vehicles come on. And that's because the snow or ice has not bonded to the pavement after it's been pre-treated with a chloride. If we didn't treat the pavement, the snow and ice can bond to the pavement, causing it to freeze up and become unsafe for motoring public. So salt brine is applied at 40 gallons a lane mile. That's really not a lot when you consider it's 8 5-gallon pails over that whole mile. What that allows it to do is soak into the pavement and prevent the bond, similar to what frying an egg in a skillet would be. If we can prevent the bond, the egg comes out very easily. If we don't prevent it, it can burn and be stuck to the pan. And that's what we're doing here, is we want to have that snow and ice not bond to the pavement and allow for us to mechanically remove it with a snowplow blade. That is the cheapest, most efficient way to remove snow and ice, is to just merely plow it off. But by having it pre-treated and not bonded to the pavement, it allows for that to happen. We can reduce the amount of salt that we're applying during an event, but still having that bond being prevented. Salt brine is made here in-house. We have a machine that we purchased back in 2009 that actually will dilute the salt into the water at a 23.3% mixture, and is sent out to 2 of our 6,000-gallon storage tanks. By pre-treating our roads, we can go up to 3 days in advance of a storm event. Oftentimes people may see us driving around and it's sunny outside as we're applying material, but it is on purpose because we do have a forecasted event coming in the future. Another thing that this allows us to do is protect against frost. Oftentimes when the dew point and the temperatures meet at a certain temperature and dew point ratio, that frost will form, particularly on bridges and overpasses. Allowing us to treat that, again, lowers that freezing point, and we prevent that frost from forming and making, again, our streets safer. Statistically, most car crashes occur within the first 2 hours of a snow event, and that's because road conditions have gone from fairly good winter travel to very poor in such a short amount of time, and drivers have not adjusted their driving behavior. By being proactive and applying material before the storm, we can hopefully delay that bad weather impact for drivers and give our staff time to get in, if it's after hours, get into our other trucks and get out to address the other concerns throughout the city. So being proactive is really the intent behind preventing the bond, making travel safe, and actually reducing the amount of salt that we have to utilize. Salt is approximately $75 a ton here in the city of De Pere for us to purchase. We commit to buying 1,200 tons a year, and that's a very significant cost. If we can find ways to reduce that salt usage, we not only save financially, but we also save in our environment, and we're more efficient because if we can apply pre-storm on regular straight time staff hours, it's much more economical for our taxpayers. Salt was introduced to winter maintenance operations in Wisconsin in the 1950s. It was very cheap back then and it was effective, but over the years it has gotten much more costly. In 2008, salt used to cost $29 a ton, and here in 2022 we're at $75 a ton. It has to be looked at as a way that how can we reduce it while still providing safe winter travel. We have an obligation to our environment and our taxpayers to provide safe travel, but also be friendly to the environment. Once chloride enters the waterways, it doesn't come out. Us living here on the Fox River that leads out to the Bay of Green Bay and Lake Michigan, that is a concern for us with our great waterways and walleye fisheries. 1 teaspoon of salt can impact the aquatic life in a 5-gallon pail of water. So we have to think about where that salt is going. By us being proactive and trying to reduce the volume of salt that we're applying to the roads, but still provide that winter travel, is one way that we can help our environment. Additionally, for every dollar of salt that we utilize in winter operations, we create $10 worth of infrastructure damage. That impacts rusting out bridges, sewer systems, and other areas of our infrastructure concerns. But at this point, we must utilize salt to provide safe winter travel in the environment that we live in. But we have to find ways to reduce that, to not only protect the environment and infrastructure, but also be fiscally responsible so that we can continue to have the lifestyle that we have and the quality of life that we have here in the city of De Pere. So while salt brine is 23.3% salt and the rest water, it is corrosive. All chlorides are corrosive. So to say that it's not going to rust out your car is not an accurate statement. But in the same token, it is much less than a straight 100% rock salt granule on the street. And for rock salt to be activated, it must be turned into a brine itself, whether it be from pre-treating the salt as it's coming off of the spinner, or from the moisture in the air and the traffic driving over it, heating it up and turning itself into a brine on the roadway. So while we are aware that the material that we're placing out is corrosive, we are trying to reduce that impact and footprint on our environment. So as you see this truck out within the city or trucks out on the highway or other municipalities, please give it some space. We are applying this for the reason of public safety. It does have a positive impact to be proactive pre-storm, to provide salt brine being absorbed into the pavement to prevent the bonding as the storm continues and allows the trucks to mechanically remove it with snowplow blades. We really have a plan on why we're utilizing it under the conditions that we're utilizing it to better serve our community.